the whole premise of it is zero waste, right?
Yes.
Eliminate waste. Why are you sending mailers to just some random group? Why are you targeting Facebook based on, just a zip code, a couple of zip codes, right? Get to the specific set of consumers, waste nothing in the process, and you're not going to convert all of them, but you're definitely going to have a higher conversion rate than anything else you're doing. That we can almost guarantee.
Welcome to the Strategy with Jason podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me on another episode of The Drive. Today, I'm in Newport Beach, California at the Evolution Media Group event, and man, thank you, Evolution Media Group, for having me come out to sunny California. I really appreciate it. Today, I have the one, the only, the oh so famous. Sorry,
That was funny.
Joe, what's going on, man? Sometimes I make myself crack up.
Thank you for having me, Jason.
Joe, S&P Global, man, I'm so glad we got the chance to do this.
Yeah.
There's only a few people I consider to be like the GOAT, in the business, and Joe, I think you're the GOAT.
Oh, man. That's a little aggressive, but I do appreciate it. It just means I'm old and I've been in the industry a long time. It's fine.
but it's, yes, I mean, you have the experience. You've been in the industry for a long time. You've seen where we were and where we're going, and man, what about just an exciting time to be in the business? And I know we're going to get into just how exciting it is. Before we can get into that, I love kicking off these podcasts with a little origin story, because no one just wakes up one day and decides to commit an entire lifetime to the automotive industry. But let's kick it off there, Joe. Like, how did you get started in this crazy little world we call the automotive industry?
Yeah, I mean, I born and raised in Detroit and Detroit area. And for me, it really wasn't like an area of interest. It wasn't like I was a car guy, a kid growing up with cars and model cars or anything like that. I just sort of like the Detroit, the backdraft of everything that's going on in Detroit,
right,
just sort of gravitationally pulls you into auto, right? And
it's like its own planet. It's got its own orbit, right? You just kind of get sucked into it.
So you just get pulled into it, and it's an exciting industry, and that's something that you learn pretty quick. But for me, it really started on, I started working at ad agencies, and one of them was actually not affiliated with auto at all, but started my career at an agency called Beyond Interactive, then moved to an agency called Ford Motor Media, which was all focused on Ford Motor Company. And my focus was digital advertising when it wasn't really that cool.
It wasn't a thing.
So we were, it was just like, hey, this guy seems to know what he's talking about. Let's bring him in and see if he can help Ford, by advertising on websites, these things called websites, on banner ads. So I did that for a while, and then, I moved over to kind of the vendor side of the space, where I was at a vertical ad network called Jumpstart Automotive Group that, we had publishers that, we were selling advertising on their behalf, like Car and Driver, Road and Track, company, a variety of websites. And then I moved into the world of data when I got to a company called Data Logics and ran the automotive practice there. We got acquired by Oracle in 2015, and then in 2020 I joined Polk S&P, which became S&P Global Mobility. I think for me the benefit has been that I've kind of seen all sides of the industry. Yeah. I've just been a part of. I've had the blessing of having seen it from the side of the client and the agency that's sort of doing the work. And by the way, for anybody who works at an agency, that it's a sink or swim kind of job. Like, you just get thrown into the deep end and you have to figure it out. And that's a great, it ends up being a fantastic thing for your career, because it sort of puts you in a position to say, I can figure anything out. If I could, stand up an ad serving platform on my own or whatever.
Especially in the automotive space.
Yeah. So I had the benefit of seeing all sides of it, and that allowed me to have a little bit of foresight into sort of what was coming next. And that's where I was able to sort of join some of these upstart companies like a Jumpstart or a Datalogics before, they were actually like part of the mainstream, and they were solutions that were driven by data and analytics, but before the industry really had created widespread adoption of those tools and practices. So that's been, I think the biggest benefit to me is just having been able to observe so many different perspectives. Yeah.
And so you got bit by the automotive bug, you got bit by the marketing bug, you got bit by the data bug, and then kind of here you are.
That's right.
You're glutton for punishment. Stay in the automotive business.
That's right.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like,
if I left the automotive business, I wouldn't have any friends then, right?
You know what? We do. And that's why I love coming out to events like this. Again, thank you so much, Evolution Media Group, for putting this on. And your event the other day, the Polk event you guys, or the S&P event you guys had the other day. I keep calling you Polk because that's my dealer.
We still use it as a brand. Yeah, it's still our brand name, so it's okay. It's still official.
It's still official.
Yeah.
But look, we got some time to jam and kind of talk about some other of our passions, and one of our passions happen to be electric vehicles. We're both EV owners, and if you don't like it, tough. But you guys the other day were bringing up just some amazing data points around EVs, and just like right now, I mean the industry needs to hear some of these data points, because if we can make it actionable, the cars aren't going to sell themselves right now. We got to take part of it. So give me, I know there was so much data points, but give me kind of that high level kind of overview of some of the stuff we reviewed the other day.
Yeah, I mean, I think the overriding theme is that, and our analysts are saying this too, is that like we're all pulling in the direction of EVs. It's just a matter of how much time it's going to take before we get to that adoption curve. What I would say is we are in, if you look at sort of like the rules of business, it's like we're in the hype cycle right now, where it's like, okay, there's this new innovation, this new technology that, the entire industry finally kind of embraced and put their arms around and said, we all need to be, rowing toward electrification, emission standards that are better for the environment, better for the future of this country. And once you have that, you obviously just have gravity at that point, right? So now, so that's kind of created the momentum, but the adoption curve from the consumer side is where I liken it to this hype cycle, right? Which is, okay, just because you, the automakers, are saying, hey, this is great, doesn't always mean the consumer is going to go, yeah, I agree, this is great, I'll just take one of those and no problem. Because look, cars are not a new phenomenon. It's not like going from, there was some parallels to this before. It was like, well, you're going from a flip phone to an iPhone. It's not like that, because it is a completely different, less comfortable sort of transition. And whereas that example, the flip phone to the iPhone, was kind of like, it was just like the skies opened up, So I think that's the dynamic is very different in that, there's about 7% of new car sales are EVs in the U.S. right now. We and other companies that analyze and forecast for the industry had higher numbers in our forecasts in the past, probably in more of the double digits, right? So the adoption curve just hasn't hit, and part of that has been price point. It's a big problem, right?
Yes.
The price point of EVs is significantly higher. And in fact, what has happened is it's taken the average price of a new vehicle up by about 30% in just the last 5 years. So a new vehicle costs almost $50,000 on average now. And that's a big step change, for the average consumer. So not only are you telling them to spend more money on this thing, but also get comfortable with this new way of driving and dealing with charging and all that. So the biggest factor is price. I think the second factor is education.
100%.
There's a gap in education, right? Because people have range anxiety, charging infrastructure anxiety. They don't know that, and the OEMs don't do the best job of articulating the true convenience and benefits that that you and I as EV owners love, like never having to go to a gas station never having to get an oil change, never having to worry about a transmission check, and the only thing really having to do is like rotate your tires. And you know, at the end of the day, like those things matter to me, and they probably matter to a lot of consumers, but we just haven't done a great job of articulating them. I think the problem too is that you have an OEM base. Let's put Tesla and Rivian and some of the pure play EV companies aside. You have an OEM base that is playing the hybrid game. And I don't mean hybrid vehicles. I mean
a split between the two different
they
models.
can't sort of, you know, they can't just, you know, sort of crush the hopes and dreams of their gas vehicles, because that's the ones that are actually making them money, right? Exactly. So if you come at the market articulating, oh, these gas vehicles are really dumb, you should just get an EV. Like right now they're losing on average like $6,000 per unit when they sell an EV. So it's incongruent for them to like really push it. They understand that there's going to be an adoption curve, and they're willing to lose some money during that time frame, but they also don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, which is their cash cow, right? Which is gas powered vehicles, that trucks and SUVs that have high margin, high return for them. So there's just a really interesting dynamic going on. And then you just have like the Tesla world, which is like
a whole nother kind of
own like domain of people, first movers, Elon Musk fanboys, you name it, right?
Very loyal.
Yep.
All right. You know, they probably already through their second or possibly even third Tesla at this point.
Yeah, biggest charging network. You know, so
just passed by about half a dozen of them.
Exactly.
Within the last 5 minutes.
So those are the dynamics that are at play here. And the thing I keep asking my analysts, and Tom Libby, who I stood on stage with earlier, was like, do we really think we're going to get to like 70-80% EVs in new car sales in the next dozen years? And he says, look, I think it's a high number. Said, you know, it's hard to project and forecast 12 years out regardless, but it is going to be a high number, and we're moving in that direction. You get all kinds of questions, right? Oh, well, what if you live in an apartment complex? Oh, you can't put a charger in you don't have a garage. Or what if there's people who live in New York City, if they want to use a charger in their apartment complex because the apartment provides them, they charge you $75 a day or something. Like It's just some insane, like inefficient model. So there are so many things that still need to happen for mass adoption.
But I think the key thing here is that the data shows we're heading that direction. And, you know, look, regardless how you feel about it, if you're watching, listening to this right now, the data is showing we are going that direction. So maybe it's the Boy Scout in me coming out, but it's like, be prepared.
Yeah.
Okay. And, you know, going back to, a few things, I'm going to find a couple rabbit holes that I think you kind of mentioned, and I'd love,
sure.
You know me, I love finding rabbit holes. So I'll find a rabbit hole and we'll definitely go down it.
Sounds good.
But what is this data show to me as a marketer? So, now my marketing brain kind of kicks in, right? And, it's like, it's not just a vehicle EVs, and you said this the other day actually during your presentation, EVs are an experience that happen to have 4 tires and a steering wheel.
Yep.
And that's still where I think we're kind of are as an industry, and I think marketers need to really jump on this, because to your point, you can't market an EV the same way that you market an ICE vehicle. All right, EVs are not price point driven. All right, you're not going to run a $250 biweekly, ad on that, because it doesn't work. You really have to get down to telling the art and the story and the experience that it is. It's funny because both of us own the same Rivian. We both have R1Ss.
Yep.
And both of us bought them from 2 very different types of experiences. Yeah. But of course, we wanted a family-sized vehicle. I bought it because I wanted to take it off-roading and get it dirty and dent it and scratch it. You bought it because the tremendous, the power,
convenience, fun to drive, storage. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a hoot to drive.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
But I think that's just where the consumers are, and I think just marketers out there just need to realize that's where they are, and we need to market to those people that are looking for those kinds of experiences. And I think the manufacturers had this idea of like a build it and they will come scenario.
Yeah.
And that just really wasn't necessarily the case. But there's still a tremendous amount of opportunity there. So I also want to you guys have some great we're passing so many EVs. Maybe it's because we're just talking about it. I'm like, there's a Rivian.
We
there's a
are in
Tesla.
Southern California, so we're in the
purple.
California is about a 30% EV penetration rate, which is the highest in the country. So
is this two very different like EVs right here, or
that's
what?
a Taycan.
There's a Taycan, and then that is, I can't remember what the name of this thing is. This little Moke. Yeah, it's like an EV.
That's fantastic. What is that thing?
It's like a mini little Jeep go-kart thing, but like it's just there's just so much there. But I want to get into more into kind of the data side, because this is the one thing that I love about what you guys do and bringing these great topics and points up to our industry and addressing them. But I also, you guys power so much more out there than I think people necessarily realize. And let's get a little into, I want to go down that rabbit hole. Can we get into a bit more of like the Polk data set and what you guys have and just how available it is to everybody out there?
We're known for a couple of things by and large. One is we're known for our forecasting practice.
Yes.
So we tell the industry what's going to happen a year, 5 years, 10 years out. We help OEMs with that data. We help suppliers with that data, right? So they know how to plan their supply chain. There's, that we're known for kind of that forecasting practice. We're also known for what's called our market reporting or performance practice, where it's just like, hey, what is happening now, right? Yeah. So it's what's going to happen in the future and what is happening now, which is, all right, there were, I need to know how many EVs were sold in South Carolina last week, right? Like we have a dashboard called Catalyst for Insight that pretty much every OEM has subscribed to, many dealer groups subscribe to, that they can just with one query get that answer. So, but what a lot of people don't know about, and one of the reasons I came here was really just to build an ecosystem for activating on that data, right? So taking action on what's going to happen in the future, what's happening now, what do I do, right? So it's the so what, right? Data is data, but analytics is great, but so what? What do I do? So the business that I've built is really focused on actioning on that, right? So if the data says that, the EVs, there's a 5 months of inventory of EVs in South Carolina that we need to move, and we're, Chevy, right? Then let's come up with a campaign focused on very specific audiences and going after those people based on us identifying people being in market for EVs in that market, right? So we've created tools. We've got a tool called Polk Auto Direct, which is literally just polkautoddirect.com. Anybody can sign up to start using it, which allows you to build an audience based on whatever criteria you're looking for, and then decide how you want to then deploy that audience. Do you want to use it as a direct mail list? Do you want to use it on Facebook and reach those consumers on Facebook, on your Facebook campaigns? And in the future, we're going to add other channels like email, Amazon, Trade Desk, etc. But right now, we kind of went to where most of the demand was coming from, which was direct mail and Facebook, frankly. So it's taking the knowledge and intelligence layer that we have and creating an activation solution that allows you to then, okay, I need to start taking action on what the data is telling me, and to stoke more interest in my vehicles. And by the way, the whole premise of it is zero waste, right? Yes. Eliminate waste. Why are you sending mailers to just some random group? Why are you targeting Facebook based on, just a zip code, a couple of zip codes, right? Get to the specific set of consumers, waste nothing in the process, and you're not going to convert all of them, but you're definitely going to have a higher conversion rate than anything else you're doing. That we can almost guarantee.
It makes it more efficient, and that's what I'm excited about. I think this era of our industry is, I think it's just all about efficiencies.
Yep.
And when I'm able to target the right customer with the right message at the right time, look, not only is that better for the consumer because I I'm marketing to them
relevance.
based on what I know about them,
Mhm.
right? Which is fundamentally different. It's not to say we hadn't had it in the past, but just not at this level, not at this scale,
Right.
but also just not at this ease. With your guys' self-serve platform, I can go there. I can create that audience,
Mhm.
right? And I can go and test that audience like that. And I think that just look, if you're a dealership out there and you're watching, listening right now, I think you really need to understand what your agency's data strategy is, because marketing is not just creative anymore. It's targeting that audience with a message that's very relevant to them, but it's like, where are they getting that data and just how accessible is it? I think it's just incredibly important.
Yeah, and we also offer the ability to not only like reach out to potentially new customers, but one of our goals is to help you create a better communication stream with your current customers, right? So,
Yes.
so all of you have your own databases, your own DMS data, right? You understand who's already currently a customer, and by the way, dealer loyalty, right? So consumers coming back after they purchase a car from a dealership, about 65% of them don't buy from the same dealership on average. That's what our data says, which I think everybody would want that number to go up, right? They want to be able to capture much more of that loyalty to their dealership, but most of that starts with communication, right? Like fine tuning your communication. So you have a database of 10,000 people in it. Great, it might have been prospects that you got from a sweepstakes or something that you did, or an ad campaign. It might be current and past customers. First step is just like, hey, do I even know that these people still live in the area? Did they change address? Do they still own the vehicle that they bought from me, or did they trade it? Or
I sold 9 years
we all
ago.
do, yeah. So like that's a very basic solution that we offer as well, which is just data hygiene, right? Just very simply, like, let us make sure that if you have 10,000 people in that database, you might only have 8,000 that are relevant. 20% of it might end up being throwaway. We'll help tell you what that is so that you're not wasting money on those people. And then that allows you to start to score those people, right? Who's in market? When are they going to be in market? How should I be marketing to them, messaging to them, etc.? And you start to improve your close rates, and you start to be able to communicate in a way that helps you improve that retention.
Well, your strategies continue to get better, right?
Mhm.
And this is another thing that I don't think a lot of folks out there, maybe watching and listening, know necessarily about you guys. It's not only are you providing these amazing industry reports and giving us insights to what's coming, you have, like I said, again, you have this amazing self-serve data platform as well. You're able to also ensure that you have clean data. I mean, look, we've talked about for years how we're sitting on a gold mine of data, right? But hey, that gold mine of data is only as good as how the quality of that data is. And I think that's an exercise that dealers need to be doing. They need to be kind of cleaning it up, and it's just good old hygiene practices. And again, we're just talking about efficiencies, not wasting money in marketing to people. That I said. Now you guys though have another level, which I think is so cool, is the attribution level.
Yes.
Maybe this is my dealer principal hat coming on, but this is where I get excited.
Yep.
Because it's look, marketing. It's a big investment for my dealership. We're spending a lot of money out there, trying to get in front of the right people and trying to get the right messages from them. But then how do I know it works? So can we go kind of down that rabbit hole of attribution with you?
Yeah, I mean, look, attribution has been everything from a click to an email open, to vehicle detail page view. But I can assure you, and I've talked to dealers directly about this, they just don't care that much about those pieces of information, right? Like, they just don't. It's interesting, it's nice to have, but it doesn't really move the needle in a way that says, like, look, a dealer might get 10,000 visits to their website this month, but they might sell 10 fewer vehicles than they did the last month, even though they got more visits. There's incongruencies in the data.
Yes.
So there's a lot of noise in what's historically been considered attribution or some kind of signal. What we know is that if you're looking at sales as the ultimate, barometer for success of your marketing campaigns, you're going to just, your ROI, you actually can measure ROI. Like, is this working? Okay, how much am I paying for a sale, basically? And then what we also offer is the ability to do two very interesting things. One is we can do near real-time measurement, meaning like we can do this on a weekly cadence, where through, like the trade desk is the first place we're doing this, but it will also be in Meta and Google in the very near future. But being able to read and react versus sort of wait and navel gaze and decide later like what to do.
That's
right?
usually what we have to do in the past. We kind of like had to wait for the month end to kind of finish and everyone to kind of finish off the reporting to go, well, we kind of connected, but we didn't knock it out of the park.
You can't afford to wait,
100%.
in reality. So there's that piece of it. The second piece of it is, yes, you can measure sales on how many vehicles you sold out of your store, but ultimately you also want to know what were your missed opportunities, what went to the competitive stores in your area. And there's a couple of things that you learn from that. One is obviously that you missed an opportunity with a certain set of customers. But the second is that if the buy rate overall on your campaign was high and your share of it was X, you're doing something right.
Yes.
Your goal then is to just eat into that share on the next campaign. And that's what the optimization comes in. It says, okay, what types of audiences, what types of creative and messaging were working better for the people that bought my vehicles, and that's all in the data set that allows you to optimize against it. So it's very important, and again, it goes back to what you were saying, efficiency, right?
Yes.
Like you're no longer wasting money on people that'll never buy a car from your dealership for whatever reason it is, whether it's you're a luxury brand and they can't afford you. They don't even own a car, but you're still targeting them. They've never owned a car. They take buses and trains to everywhere. So like data-driven marketing is not just like a new phenomenon. It is basically just the only way to do marketing in the current state of the industry, and it's only going to get better. Right.
It is only get better, and you guys have just kind of been, such an impactful, supportive, company helping, dealers and agencies alike, do this. Look, I know we're getting towards the tail end of our time, and I think this has been just a really fun conversation. We've been darting in and out of
neighborhoods. Very beautiful neighborhoods too.
Yes, right. But for everybody out there kind of watching and listening who would, love to kind of connect and, learn more about what S&P Global is, because there's just so much to learn. What's the best way to do so, Joe?
I think the easiest way is actually just to go to polkaautodirect.com. And then if you want to, you can set up an account for free before you buy anything. And that'll allow you to sort of tool around with the UI and the interface.
Mm-hmm.
And then in there is just kind of a contact, as well, that says like, hey, I'd like to move forward. I want to talk to somebody about this, and that'll just create a quick outreach to whoever the right salesperson is that's going to reach back out to you. That is probably the easiest way for us to work together.
Awesome. Joe, thanks, man, for taking the time to jam today.
Absolutely.
It's always a blast when we get to connect.
Thank
really
you.
Appreciate it. For everybody
appreciate the ride.
This was fun.
Yeah.
For everybody out there watching and listening, we really appreciate your time. You have yourself an amazing day.
Thanks for tuning in to the Strategy with Jason podcast with your host, Jason Harris. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy podcasting.